What up, Buttons? It's your boys, Adam Stark.
And Alan Roper. And today, a very special day, we have a very special guest in Jason Leech.
Yeah.
A young phenom on the keyboard. This dude plays multiple keyboards at once, flipping tracks, and he's incredible. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I just want to talk to him about it. So let's bring him on. So where are you at, man? You in Louisiana?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville,
Nice.
Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, so really not that far.
No, we aren't. It's kind of close to South Carolina. I mean, a day's drive or something. You know?
Yeah, not too bad. I've
Nice.
driven a lot lately, so yeah. Adam's in the northwest corner.
For now, yes. I'm up in Vancouver, Washington.
He's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
move to Mars.
I'm going to move to Mars, yes. I'm following Elon Musk's car he launched there. I want that. I want that roadster.
So let's go with,
Yeah, lead us in there, Alan.
well, this question I just want to know anyway. I've been watching like all your stuff for a while now. So you're a classically trained pianist or what?
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long you been playing piano in general?
I started piano lessons in first grade, and
Oh wow.
I never stopped. I forget how old you are in first grade, but
I never remember that either.
Yeah,
Around
but
6 to 8.
yeah, so probably like 25, 24 years I've been playing piano.
Nice.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's, well, it shows. It's very clean. I don't know how many takes it takes for you to do it, but I imagine with that much background, probably not many takes because it's clean work. I don't see a lot of fumbles out there.
Yeah.
So producing, you produce music as well?
Yes.
Okay, so that leads me into 37,000 questions, but I won't hit them all.
Okay.
Well, before I get into that though, I want to ask you who like inspires you the most in music, like who pushes you to be better. Like this, I'm a lyricist, so for me, if I don't hear a lyricist that's like really, really good, I don't listen to it. Like radio, rap, or whatever. It has to be some, very advanced lyrical stuff. So I imagine most people that like something a lot go for the thing that pushes them a lot. So that's what I ask you is like, who pushes you musically?
I guess with my genre, like thinking with instruments and electronic music, I'm always inspired by Grizz and what he's
Grizz.
yeah. I just think like, I don't know, he's got it. Whatever everyone's trying to do, he's figured it out. He's locked in.
Yeah.
And it's just
I like Grizz.
yeah, and it's fun to watch like super professionally done. It's not just like him jamming, like everything is very, I imagine took, lots of, every second he was looked over, it's just cool. It's like, how's he able to look like he's jamming and things are just happening in the moment, but it's very technically, perfect.
Yeah.
So you mean like live performance or like studio work?
His live performance, I mean, when I saw him, it's really inspired me. But even his studio work, it's like, how are you that good of a musician and a producer?
Right.
It remind me, is Grizz when he plays live, he does like with the saxophone, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Recently, he had a guitar. He's just always up in his game.
I saw him here in Portland a few years back, and that just blew my mind too, just seeing, because I'd never seen a live performance like that, especially for a producer style of like I've seen people play with the launch pads or stuff that I'm doing where it's just like, oh, I make music and then I kind of play it, and it's hard to like bring a full experience into it, which is something I've been trying to figure out and actually work on as well. But yeah. I agree with that. Seeing that was just like, wow, there's so much there.
There is, yeah.
So with that, you think Grizz is the best performance you've seen live, or if not, who would be?
Man, that's hard.
That's a hard question. Yeah.
Is that like probably like the most fun? That's probably it. But I'd have to think about that one. Who's my favorite live performance?
That's a hard question. I always wonder, just because
For-
it gives the people an idea of like what pushes you. That's
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot like hip hop, so I guess that is the most motivating in terms of like when people lyrically talk about how hungry they are. In electronic music, it's like, how hungry are you? And look how crazy I made this, song or this track. But lyrically hearing that people are hungry, that's super motivating.
Oh, well then we'll get along just fine. I got some work for you to listen to.
Sure. I love that stuff. I mean,
Cool.
even when I'm setting up like keyboards and getting ready, it just, I don't know, it can amp you up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got a couple questions, Adam? I got a few more, but
yeah. That was kind of actually what we were just talking about leads into this one is, I guess, what drew you in from the kind of like, I read in some other interviews that you had that, and obviously by your wall there with Pink Floyd, The Doors, and all that type of stuff is that classic rock. What brought you, what interested you in classic rock, and then what brought you as a performer from classic rock to electronic music?
Dad and mom, dad rock.
Nice.
Basically, they're old records, and that was kind of the first. I heard that before I heard like pop radio stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that was good for me because like
lucky.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I grew up too.
Yeah, like before Backstreet Boys, I heard Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
You know what I mean? It just kind of, it was a good progression because it kind of set a standard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also was super intrigued. I got Deep Purple back there too.
Okay.
Organs, like those big crunchy B3 organs. I was like, wait a minute. So that's like a piano like I play, so
Nice.
That was cool to figure out.
Awesome.
But still going on the question about like what got me into it is hearing, I mean, this is like 2012 something, hearing like those old Zed's Dead and Skrillex, Flex, that old UKF, that I was like, what is this music that's like, it's like, heavy like rock, but it's synthesizers and keyboards are the lead. It's not like there's a lead singer and the solos aren't guitar solos. It's all synth stuff. And I was super pumped about that.
Nice.
I think, dude, that sucked me into electronic music, that era specifically, like the 2007, 8, 9, Nero, like right before Skrillex, like some of the UK stuff, not the UKF dubstep, which that too, but like, obviously Casper and Rusko and those guys, and Trolley Snatcher and stuff like that, like the UK stuff, some of the grime stuff, that changed my whole perception of like what electronic music could be. And then of course Ableton. But then I went from there, and now I'm like getting into like a more broader strokes of or broader spectrum of electronic, just to see what else there is and like just experiment. But I come from a hip hop background, so, and like you said, the way you grew up, I was the same. My parents were from the South, so they listened to Bad Company and like all the old rock stuff. Bob Seger.
Yeah, Bob Seger for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're actually one of the things that you're or one of your festivals that you're going to be playing later, I think on the 3rd of July. With you're on this either the same stage or the same lineup as one of my favorites, and that would be Rusko, the big headliner of that one.
Hey, how's that feel?
How does that feel? And it's like, I mean, that's just crazy because he to me was that first driver into a lot of electronic music was Rusko in general for me.
Yeah, I'm playing on the same stage and the same like night as ever. Like a couple hours later, he'll be up on the same stage, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a milestone.
It really is. It's like it's something crazy to see your name. I mean, I'm not putting myself up there with him, but it's really cool to see your name next to his.
Right. Absolutely.
No, you're super talented, man. Just keep grinding, dude, because I don't even know what you're going to do next, but just keep pushing. Like, I love so many of your videos. That Zed's Dead flip with the Atmosphere remix that they did, that you snuck in there. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it coming because you didn't post it with that. And like, then I started hearing the keyboard, and right before it dropped, I'm like, oh shit.
While we're on the subject of festivals there, so it looks like you have, I think I saw 3 lined up, some in August, some in July, or what all do you have going on for at least 2021?
Yeah, there's one next weekend in Nashville, May Pop, and that's with Manic Focus, who I love, super inspired by him too. Then the following weekend is at Asteria Festival in Florida. There's one in Cincinnati, Interstellar Festival, and that one's in August. There's one coming in July that's not announced yet, but it's kind of close to home too, which is nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And for our audience, anybody watching, we will have links to, I believe you have a website up, your channel and everything, wherever you're posting those. What is the best place for people to find information if they want to go see your shows or see if you're in their area?
JasonLeechMusic.com.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I wanted to kind of cover, well, first of all, I mean, you use a lot of keyboards or synths or whatever. Like, what's your favorite equipment? And then if you use them, what's your favorite DAW that you integrate with the best?
I use Yamaha keyboards. I like how they feel. And that blue one on top is a Yamaha MX61, and it has sounds built into it. And like, just to go over like quickly through the setup, the bottom one is a Yamaha, like a weighted piano, and that gives it that classical piano, feel. And it's as big as the regular piano, feels like one. The middle one is a MIDI controller. It has no sounds on it,
Right.
but it triggers sounds off my computer. And the top one is another Yamaha, and it has sounds in it, and it's just for like real sounding instruments like strings, horns. It does some good like pads, flutes on it too, just like quick things like that. But if I want to make EDM sounding synths, I use that middle one.
Nice.
So you have the whole spectrum. You got the full-on weighted keys, you got the empty MIDI controller, and then you got the preloaded Yamaha on top. So you have like everything.
Yeah.
So
I don't really need like too much more, because that middle one is always changing, and I can pick basic sounds off the top one,
Right. So you integrate your middle, the MIDI controller with what software on your computer?
Logic, and that's what I make all my music and all those remixes in. And then for the live sets, I'm still using it, but instead of Logic, it's MainStage, which is also an Apple product. It's like
nice
for live shows. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Tight. Logic's still killing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could still add anything to your repertoire of instruments and or keyboards, what is something that you still want to add to it? Is your setup complete, or is there more stuff that you want to add to it?
This is like it will take it's a goal to work towards, but a grand piano up on the stage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be?
That would be awesome.
It would just be like, it would make the whole scene that I'm going for. You know what I mean?
That's dope.
Yeah.
Especially if you had a whole thing of just like you see your electronic performance and you don't even really see the piano, and then it's just kind of like as the lights are like down or whatever, it kind of just rolls out, and all of a sudden you just turn around and you're just like, here we go, grand piano, and people are like, oh shit, he brought out the real shit.
Yeah. Like it would be like a nice break, or even, I don't know, but it seems like it belongs up there. And that's what I grew up on, and what feels the best. So
yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so when you're building these remixes, like, do you reach out and get the stems, or do you sample the songs yourself, or how do you build it out beforehand, or do you build it out beforehand? Like, can you run through your process? I mean, I don't want to take nothing away from you if you want to keep it close to the vest, but at the same time.
Yeah. For starting out, it was, and this was what helped me with production the most, and that's my advice to a lot of people, is remake the song. and like put the
Yeah.
kicks where they are already. Try to find the snare that sounds like it. Try to mix it like it. And it actually, without me even knowing, it kind of taught me song structure.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like where things are placed. So that was super helpful. But that's what I did for the longest time for my remixes. And then I started doing those artist remixes, and forget who it was, but they said, "Here, do you need anything? We have the stems for it." And
Right.
then that made everything so much easier. So now for like bigger, like like that Zed's Dead, that like that, instead of me trying to recreate it, I have enough to be like, I'll do this for you, but can you give me the stems? And it's a great trade-off.
That's
So
awesome.
wow, they like with the Go remix, you actually got the stem sent to you.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's incredible.
Well, I can tell you from I learned this just recently because back in last November I got signed to a German label, FBP Music, and they that was something I didn't realize that they kind of handled or they asked for is when rendering out the songs they asked you for all the different like MP3s, wave versions, the 48. Or 48,000 hertz or whatever different audio types, but then they also ask you to like break out your entire song into different stems for it, and so give that to them. So anytime a label or producer like has those types of things, it's actually a really good thing, and it's a lot more common than I actually thought it was, or at least nowadays. I don't think it was maybe 10 years ago very common that,
No.
if you wanted to gather people's attention, you'd be like, oh, I made a stem pack for you guys who are following me and want to check, want to make those remixes. I think that's what kind of brought that into it. And so I think it's almost an industry standard now, or I would think it would be for a lot of people, because remixes
should
are
be
huge. Yeah.
Well, even with like hip hop, like I have guys come to the studio and try to record it, and they're like, "Hey, I got this beat I ripped off YouTube." I'm like, "You don't got the stems of the beat?" Like they're like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Okay." So you need to learn that, and like you want me to record over an MP3? That's the quality is going to be subpar at best. Like I can't mix and master over already mastered one file track. So that's something that literally needs to be brought to everyone's attention. Pay attention, everyone. Learn what stems are and utilize them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're
That's
good.
great.
They're good to have for yourself too, because like people like if they even lose their projects, hard drive crashes. If you have the stems, it's pretty much the complete package.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Break everything down in stems always. That's incredible that you have enough, I don't know, I guess clout to have like people like Zed's Dead send you their stems. That's incredible to me. That's awesome. I'm a producer as well, and I just didn't imagine that would be simple. But I mean, for me, it probably wouldn't be. But
no, it's always like a Christmas present because it's so exciting. And like you said, like the Go remix, I was like looking at Skrillex's production and like going through it. And before I even like worked on it, it's just fun to just listen and be like, I've never even noticed that part in there. Little thing.
Yeah, I'm a perfectionist at this point. Like I find tooth listening to other people's stuff, and I'm like, oh, I can see what they did there. How can I represent that in a different way, but similar to my style or whatever? So I understand that.
I got a good question about the most recent Pink Floyd remix you did. It ended short, and I want to hear the rest of it. Did you actually complete the rest of it, or was that kind of a one-off?
Yeah, I saw
a
it.
Teaser.
I was like, oh, listen. I got my fiance listening, and she's like, what? It's short. And I was like, oh.
You know what that is? People have been saying like, where's the rest of this, that? It's the freaking algorithm making videos that are under a minute shoot to the top. If I make a 4-minute video, nobody sees it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it sucks because it makes me cut it off, but more people see it, and like they wouldn't have seen it to even say, I wish there was more. If it was
right.
So it's really interesting to hear about shorter videos again, because I know the last 2 years they were focusing on like 10-minute, 15-minute videos and pushing those out to try and run their television thing. So it's interesting to hear that they're doing short ones too.
TikTok is the reason for all that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's why the ones I've been making have been like up and down, instead of long ways. You know what I mean? just like everyone's against TikTok. YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram are all making short vertical videos to go against them, and they've been doing better for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Noted. We're gonna have to play around with that now. And see what happens.
Yeah.
Out of all your classic rock and different inspirations from there, which one's your favorite? Which one's your big one?
Pink Floyd for sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I had a feeling it was going to be that.
I mean, they were rocking synths like early on. They had synths. They were sampling, like with the money track and the cash register sound, all that stuff. We talked about. I go to Berkeley College of Music, also, and like we talked about that specific thing and just their ability to be ahead of the curve, I guess. And their sound is so, I don't want to say unorthodox. It's not the right word, but it's very. There's a lot of abstract stuff in their music.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll ever get tired of Pink Floyd. Just, you can put that on for so many different vibes. Like you can put that on for so many vibes. I mean, it's been, I'm 38. I've been listening to Pink Floyd since I was, 6, and it hasn't gotten old yet. It just doesn't get old.
No. And
AC/DC gets old. Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd are all good.
There's something about their run in the 70s of like, it goes Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, Animals, in the Wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you do that all within a decade? You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just like a perfect, everything came together. That's just like my favorite era,
That was a great era for music. Absolutely. I agree. The 70s was on point.
The music and
different
even
genres,
the videos, the music videos that Pink Floyd would do, or the movie, obviously The Wall. The kind of the leading into those types of things that had not really ever been done before, and done on such a strange and over the top level. It's just like people started to do those types of things, and they're like, well, we're gonna one up this and make it a whole theatrical experience that today still I've never seen anything quite like the Wall movie even, or some of their other videos.
Yeah.
This is a random related question. It's like an urban legend or whatever, but what's up with the timing of Pink Floyd, The Wall, and the Wizard of Oz movie?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't there a thing with that? I never saw it or whatever, but apparently if you started at a certain time, it's like totally in sync.
After the
Could be a coincidence.
Third roar of the tiger.
Yeah.
It actually.
So I'm the only one that doesn't know. Cool.
I've done that. You have to keep it on repeat too, so it plays twice through for the entire Wizard of Oz movie. So if the whole thing starts over, you play the whole thing in order, and it's one of those things that it's just it just kind of works. It's not anything too magical, but it just happened to be one of those things that the timing of it, like I think it was with especially Money, when the monkeys start going, it just lined up for us perfectly on that. It was just like, wow.
And that may be true, but I feel like at the same time you could put anything on in the background and
Probably.
that album's going to sound amazing.
I don't think that Pink Floyd did it purposely, but it's just like there's little nuances, like cool, like scene changes exactly when a track changes,
Yeah.
So sampling Pink Floyd, that's interesting. I've been looking at so I just did a Stevie Wonder remix. Not quite finished with it. And then I'm gonna sample, this came up last night, I'm gonna sample Cigarettes After Sex, Neon Moon, which I think was a Brooks and Dunn song first, which not sampling that version. But I'm getting married at some point, and my fiance is like, you need to remix this song. It's like our song or whatever that we first kissed to. And she's like, you need to take the vocals and remix, or just make something with the vocals for our first dance. And I was, this was last night, so it's fresh on my mind. And I'm like, all right. So I can't find the acapella. So I'm gonna have to use like Splitter or something to, I like that idea. I've just started getting into sampling vocals outside of like typical means. Like, I mean, if you sample, like Adam just sampled Ellie Goulding, our buddy Ryan sampled Ellie Goulding, same song, both incredible, but her voice is so perfect for electronic music. It just is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you got the, what was it, the Calvin Harris song or whatever.
Right.
But doing something that's typically like indie rock and taking the vocals, I'm like, okay, well, what would work? And just seeing like what you've done or what other people have done, whether vocals or instruments or whatever, just kind of inspires me to like try something new. So Cigarettes After Sex is the new one. Scared to death I'm not going to do it good enough,
Yeah, it's always
considering the
scary,
gravity of it.
not doing it justice, thinking about, oh, am I gonna ruin this song? But just have fun doing it.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. That's what I do for school too. Like I just, I make projects for school and they end up being like singles or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
so what do you got plans for 2022? What are you thinking?
2022. I've definitely got a way to. I figured out how I can play shows that I don't have to drive to. So I just got a customized keyboard case to fit all 3 keyboards. So I plan on flying.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna fly them all over. That was an issue before because to play a show that I couldn't drive to would mean I have to fly 3 separate hard keyboard cases, and that is expensive.
Oh yeah.
And annoying. Yeah, I bet.
And really hard to carry. And it just kind of came to me. I was like, why don't I put them into one? And my dad, who's like a genius handyman, he was able to craft this hard case. And I'm actually going to fly him for the first time for this Florida show, the Asteria Festival. But I think for the first year, it'll be opened up where I won't have to turn down gigs if they can't afford to fly, all my cases out there. So I'm excited about that.
So we've all been making music for 20 years. Okay, cool. So there we are.
Yeah.
And all different.
Yeah, and producing is a lot newer to me than piano, and that is, I think that production is harder than piano.
Wow.
I cannot believe how in depth that it goes. You know what I mean? Like the amount of choices that you can have, and the fact that people know what to do for each one of those choices. Piano, I know how to get better with piano, and I have to sit down and I have to run these drills and run this song over and over again. It's like, this is how you get better. But to get better at production, it just seems like you can't just tweak knobs to what sounds good. That gets you only so far.
Well, no.
I can say as coming from the producer end of it, it's almost the exact same process, except for you're dealing with everything from the DAW you're using, the plugins you're using, and all of those types of things. So each one of those becomes its own tool or instruments, and learning how to do those, and literally running kind of the drills on them as when you're just making stuff up on your own. Alan sat and watched me do it before he was just like, all right, I'm gonna leave you to this and go, because I was just turning knobs to try and get a bass sound right for a good 30 minutes. And it's just one of those things.
This was a long time ago.
Yeah, learning those things, and teaching, and just teaching yourself how to do those things, of running the drills of what sounds good, what parts of those things work. And so there's just it's more like learning a ton of different instruments all at once. So it's definitely harder in the sense of how much you can do, but there are some good little practices, and that's some of the stuff that we focus on with our channel as well, besides interviews and reacts. Is our tutorials are based off of that, is taking those little bits of tools of insight of going, here's the basics of what you can go, and then let you run from here on those. But understanding those fundamentals are kind of the key to even producing in that same way.
All right, and it's there's learning the language or the vocabulary of what you're trying to do, then learning it in theory, and then learning it in application to your specific DAW.
Right.
For example, I, in 2004, I don't know, 2000, a million years ago, I was messing with Fruity Loops or whatever. Can't stand it now. But then I went to Reason for a while, and you could press tab and flip it around, and you can see the wires in the back, and it's patchwork. So it's what Deadmau5 does in his house in real life. So that was cool for a while. And then I moved on to Ableton, and it's just so streamlined. Everything's so streamlined and simple. When I go back, sometimes I have to use Reason in school. I go back to it. And the same thing I can do in Ableton in an hour, it takes me 3 times as long in Reason. So it's like that specific DAW, Ableton. That's my favorite. I can do what I need to do really fast, and it seems like it's cleaner anyway. So it's like that's the end result, is finding that DAW or the equipment or whatever it is that you do in music, and being like the drills, like Adam and you both spoke to, over and over until you're like, okay, this is my instrument now.
Right.
So I mean, it's definitely, I used to call producing on a computer, whether you have a MIDI keyboard or the push or whatever, the most adult video game. And that's what I used to call it, because when I was like 24. I was like 24. This was a while back, and I would sit in my computer at like 8 o'clock at night, and I'd start making a beat, and I was still kind of like learning the software or learning like sound design or whatever. And I would sit there, and it would literally be 8 in the morning, and I hadn't got up to go to the bathroom or eat or anything, and I'm so sucked into it and OCD about like perfection, you know what I mean, that I'd stay there all day, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, the sun is up, I'm not even tired, what is this? Which was my first clue that this is kind of like where I lay my head, is with music. It's the thing that drives me.
Yeah, I would have the same things too, where the sun would come up, and you just get you blow your own mind, like when I can't believe I made this, and that feeling, like, all right, what now, can I top that?
Yeah,
like the fact that you can impress yourself can go a long way,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
when you make something like that sounds bigger than you, like that, I don't know, there's something about it.
That first moment you step back and you go, who the fuck actually made this? Like, or when you come back to it, and you haven't heard it in a while. I love those ones that you're like, I know this song and I know that I made this, but it doesn't feel like I made this. Like,
you're on that wavelength of that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, exactly. Moment. Like the wavelength, the type of music may change or how it's done, but like even just going, you just have took a break from listening to that one song. You're like, oh right, I made that, and I still like it, and it still impresses me. How the fuck did I do that?
Right.
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask if like either one of you, I guess Adam, I don't even have to ask you, and I'm sure I don't really have to ask this either to you, Jason, but like I would finish something like when I know I'm like, this is done, maybe not mastered or whatever, but like production wise it's done, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to sleep right now because it's been 16 hours or whatever. And when you go to sleep because you can't wait to wake up with fresh ears and hear it and be like, oh, you know what I mean, that was like a big pull for me in the early days, like just going to sleep so you could wake up and hear it, like that refreshed like look.
Yeah,
even just the next day, like I know months away for sure, but like that next day, or hearing it for the first time like a venue, when you're playing a venue and you hear like a beat or whatever you made on like real good subs and like earth rumbling bass, and you're like, wow, that's impressive. It's not like it was on my headphones and monitors.
Right. Yeah.
How long have you been doing shows anyway, Jason?
3 or 4 years, not too long. It took me a while to figure out how to. I was doing videos longer, that's what I was just like making in my room and stuff. I was like, I need to figure out how to make these into a mix. And basically the first shows I was doing, it would be like the song would end, or the track would end, and it would go on way too long. Like that's what I learned too, make them short and sweet,
Mm-hmm.
But then it would like be quiet, and then people would like, woo! And then the next one would start. Like that was like the first thing. It was like a bunch of my videos back to back. But then like up till now, it's just like, now I have it doesn't sound like it stops. It sounds like how a DJ would mix an hour mix or something, and it just, there's always something new coming at you. I switch, there's probably 100 different instruments I'm using in an hour. I mean, so it's really progressed in that short amount of time for me.
That's great.
I'm really anxious to see how you blend your from track to track, like you're talking about, like how you synchronize a whole set. Like I really want to hear how you do that, because I don't know what you have as personal material. I've heard a couple things. You got like some piano stuff on Spotify, I believe. And I've heard that, and then I've heard the remixes and stuff. I haven't dug super deep other than what I see on YouTube, because I just look for it, But I can only imagine what like some of your production is involved in that, and with the other stuff you're doing.
You know what where I'm kind of stumped with right now is I make the mix in Logic, and I put it together, so it's like just all I have to do is hit play, let my mix that I made at home play, and then I can just worry about keyboards. But what I need to figure out is how to mix those keyboards into that mix better without overloading the computer. Like I want it side chained, you know. So right now I'm playing keyboards on top of a beat. That's my next venture, is like, how can I have things within the music and go off the synths and keyboards, you know?
I see. Yeah, I understand that. CPU processing, always the enemy.
Yeah, but there's people that do it. I mean, that like to hit, you know, hold a synth and it's ducking behind the kicks. Like, you know, there's definitely a way to do it, and not have your computer crash.
Well, what you can do, what you can do for stuff like that is, is if you basically take the track and whatever effects are need to be affected on that, is render everything, flatten and render everything else out, except for a good example, the kicks. Except for the kicks, leave the kicks out on that track. Then put the music there, and then you can run. Then when running your synths into it, the kicks can still affect everything that it's supposed to. Or again, stems. It's just stemming your stuff out is what needs to be affected, what's just, you know, what doesn't need to be affected by these things. Render those things out so they're not taking up the processing power, and just leave those certain things. Like you can even flatten those if you need to. But you know, if you need to single things out, that's how at least I would approach it for saving one's computer.
Yeah, but I'm not running Logic for my live sets.
Oh, main stage. Okay.
Main stage, but there might even be a way to do it at main stage. But to have stems running as the beat I'm playing, like I almost need 3 computers, you know, up there. Like each doing a different, like one for synths, one for the stems. It just seems like
I've seen that done too.
Yeah,
if you check out Beardy Man's setup with the 3 iPads running all this stuff.
yeah.
Well, I mean, with Ableton, like when I get the CPU stuff, kind of to Adam's point, they have a freeze and flatten thing. We freeze it, and it takes away the CPU power a little bit from that, because it's like, this is a done track when I mess with this. And when you flatten it, it turns whatever MIDI you have into a audio file, so that the CPU drops immensely. And that's essential, but you can't change it at that point. Like it is what it is. Like you can't affect it. So that's essentially, I think, what Adam's getting at. I don't know what Mainstage has. I've never used it, but I mean, Ableton's great for live, and that's what I anticipate using live. Just specifically, that freeze and flatten will help my super old MacBook be able to play without glitches. Hopefully, if we make it that far.
I think Ableton Live is the move I need to make. It's
amazing, bro.
Yeah, for live performance stuff, at least from what I've started, because I still, even before I used Ableton to produce, I would always, when I was still using Reason back in the day, I'd always play in Ableton, because I could either line all that stuff up or have all of that, because their ability to mix live playing tools and the production aspects together and have both those options at the same time is fantastic.
I think when I switched from like playing off of
Ableton, you want us to be a sponsor?
Yeah, right. When I started like doing hip hop in the early 2000s or whatever, and like we play off CD or we play off of iPod or whatever. iPod don't exist. An iPod or whatever. And when we switched from that like press play and just rap over a thing, Ableton was the first thing we used. And I would do like a little DJ set, dubstep, like in 2009 or something. And then we'd play our set, hip hop or whatever. And I could just put all that in one set and just, you know, the beats or whatever, and then like affect them live with the controllers. And that was like the only thing I ever really knew for live performance was Ableton. And now it's just got this. I mean, I didn't use Ableton for a while until recently again. I had a little time away from the music, but now it's so easy and amazing, and like I could walk you through the live stuff. Like it's just simple routing and then, you know, learning the interface. I'm sure you'll figure it out in no time. It's so easy to figure out.
Cool.
Ableton, do you want to be a sponsor? That's funny.
Yeah.
It would be obviously amazing, but we just love Ableton because it's, you know, it's been around for so long, and now it's gotten to be so it's just the most dynamic DAW there is, in my opinion. It's streamlined and very smooth and doesn't really glitch out on me ever.
Nice.
First software I ever bought in my life. I used to use cracked software forever. I would never pay for software, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take the plunge and pay $650 for Ableton.
Yeah, good investment.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
Would like to thank Jason Leech for coming on the show and being here with us. Thank you again. It would be
thanks, man.
Great to keep in contact with you, and you know, after your first round of like big shows coming up, come back on and let us know how it went, how it was, all the cool stuff that you learned, experienced, and all that. That would be great.
Oh, I'm down for that. I love just talking about music and everything. So
absolutely.
All right,
cool.
brother. Well, it's been a pleasure, man. It really has been. I was looking forward to this for days. So
sure. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you too.
Absolutely, brother.
We'll talk again soon.
We will.
Thanks again to Jason Leech for joining us. That was an awesome interview. It was great to talk to him, to dive into his mind and get to know all of his thought processes about how he creates his music and like where he's going currently and what his future projections are. I think it's going to be amazing to see where he goes.
Love this kid, man. Love him.
If you guys want to check out any and all of his stuff, if you're interested in his shows, we'll have all the links down in the description to both his website, to his YouTube, to everything that he has. We will link it down there, and definitely go show love.
Go to one of his festivals, man. That guy's gonna kill it.
Definitely, it's gonna be epic to see that. I can't wait till I can't wait till I get to go see one. Definitely gonna find one. But don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, share the channel. Also check out the Patreon. It really helps us out. It'll start beefing this everything we got up. We'll get more people in, and yeah. This will be our last planned video for the next couple of months for basically the summer. We're going to take a little bit of break. We're going to be doing we'll still be releasing React videos and some other videos just randomly here and there. We'll still try and put one out every Wednesday. They're not going to be as coordinated as we're kind of trying to build more content and everything. So we're just taking a little bit of a break over the summer. We'll be back in September though with some more content, with some more planned out regular stuff, some more tutorials. We'll be starting a new Roper on Lyricism, where Alan is going to take us through the mind of a lyricist and teach us some things about how to be a better lyricist, a rapper, and just writing in general. So if you guys have any questions and would like to do that, we love to take them, and we'll answer them, to the best of our ability. So thank you for joining us for this season, and we'll see you guys next time where we'll be asking those questions, what those
buttons do.
See you later.
Drop the bass.